I will be talking about the polymath. I will be discussing the polymath Robert Hooke. Born in 1635 and dying in 1703, Robert Hooke was a man of many skills, I guess you could say. He was a curator of experiments. He was a, quote, college lecturer in geometry, a rebuilder of London after the Great Fire. Yes, the royal family had no hand in it. It was the people who served them. But of course, everyone knew that. They just took the credit for it. Now, Robert Hooke also was the creator of many different things, such as lenses, lamps, telescopes, watches, theories about optics, improving chemistry, improving gravitational theories, and most importantly, well, we'll get there a little bit. We'll get there later. In the text, the Longman Anthology of British Literature, Volume 1C, Robert Hooke discusses his service to the king, his service to the Royal Society, which he served under, discusses several inventions that he created, examining a flea with his new and improved microscope. This would lead to a more important discovery later down the line, which I will get to in a moment. I'm just going over the text right now. Please bear with me. Hooke here makes very well-made observations with his microscope. Now, you would think that more people would be able to recognize this man's name compared to other, I'm not going to say inventors, but other ideists. That's not the right word, excuse me. Ideist. That doesn't sound right. Other great thinkers. For example, Leonardo da Vinci. He was a artist, a thinker, a mathematician. But what did he actually invent? He drew up plans for things, but he never actually sat down and conducted trials and actually invented anything. However, Robert Hooke actually developed several things and went through with them. He used a scientific method in order to develop these inventions that he created. There are several scientists throughout the history of the world who don't get credit for anything, and I want to discuss why. Why is this? Why do certain scientists who have contributed something great to society, why are they overshadowed by scientists who are said to contribute something great, but in reality have not contributed anything at all? Now, to focus on the main meat and potatoes of this topic, I will first begin with a story. Me and my friend, he goes to Winthrop University. We sometimes will be playing Xbox Live and we'll have discussions about great inventors, great scientists, yada yada yada. Now, he is an art major, so naturally he's fascinated with Leonardo da Vinci, and I don't really have a favorite, but I respect all inventors and all people who have contributed something great. And I was talking about Nikola Tesla because I had just written an article about him, and uh, I was discussing Mr. Tesla's version of alternating current. And my friend said that the alternating current system didn't um, impact people in great numbers. And then he went on to talk about how Leonardo da Vinci invented tanks, scuba gear, the first prototypes of planes. And I was trying to tell him, no, he did not. He drew up plans of these things, but he never really acted out on them. He didn't conduct the scientific method, who, by the way, was brought up by Alhazen, a Middle Eastern scientist who spent most of his life discovering figuring out the scientific method. You won't hear about that in your textbooks. You'll hear about some other person, I'm not sure who, but you will not hear about Alhazen. Now, you also in your textbooks, you will only hear about Thomas Edison when it comes to taking the world into the 21st century. When in fact, Nikola Tesla created a more efficient. Yes, Thomas Edison didn't invent the light bulb. He patented it. Whoever invented the light bulb is still unknown. It could be Mr. Edison. He takes credit for it, of course, along with 1,000 other inventions. Now, Mr. Tesla, his alternating form of electricity allowed lights to be lit at longer distances and for longer periods of times, and they would be brighter. Uh, Now, the war between Edison and Tesla took place. We all know Mr. Edison had large amounts of money, so he could shut up Mr. Tesla. He could outmarket him. He could do everything. And as you all know, to the victors, or what's the one saying? The spoils go to the victors, or to the victors go the spoils. So, Mr. Edison, through his marketing and his tactics, his money, he was able to change the textbooks for him to be able to take credit for electricity, or a large majority of it. Now, back to Mr. Hooke. Mr. Hooke developed the name of the cell, or Mr. Hooke came up with the term cell. Uh, cells that represent the building blocks of life, right? Well, I never heard about this. Instead, I was being taught about Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo in my textbooks in elementary school. So all I'm saying is that these men who have given something special to the world and have changed science for the foreseeable future do not receive the same amount of attention as a man who drew a picture on a chapel, or a man who sculpted a statue. It's not right, and I feel that something drastic needs to happen to the educational system to stop this from happening. You cannot inspire engineers and scientists without giving them someone to look up to. And they can't look up to Leonardo da Vinci, because Leonardo da Vinci technically wasn't a scientist. You understand? I'm not trying to bash Leonardo da Vinci. Great man, accomplished many things for his time. All I'm saying is that people like Mr. Hooke, Mr. Alhazen, Mr. Tesla, they need to be recognized for something, and not just they need to be able to show their legacy with their names. Like I said before, it's a real shame that some men who died thinking that they would live on for thousands of years to come end up being forgotten about. So here's what I want you to do. The next person you see, your next family member, or your next whoever you see that you're comfortable with, ask them this question. Do you know who Leonardo da Vinci is? Do you know what he did? Then ask them, do you know who Robert Hooke is? Do you know what he accomplished? And then ask them, you can also stick in Alhazen, Nikola Tesla, those names. But all I'm saying is that give a man credit for his accomplishments. Thank you.